latest ITV news in the Tyne region with Ian Payne and Amy Lee.
Hello, good evening. Thank you for joining us.
On tonight's programme, welcome delay. The parents of South Shields teenagers killed in a terror attack say they're glad the government are trying to get a new law right.
4 teenagers and a man appear in court charged with murdering a man at a petrol station in Seaham. We are live with the latest.
Also tonight, red and white fortress. Sunderland survivors scared to maintain their unbeaten home record.
And end of the line. He was once the youngest ever driver on the Metro. Now he reflects on his memories as he heads into retirement.
First tonight, though, to the 2 mothers from South Shields who lost their children in the Manchester Arena bombing, who have today welcomed further scrutiny of a bill to compel security services to tell the truth at public inquiries.
Lisa Rutherford and Caroline Curry met with the Prime Minister last week over the so-called Hillsborough bill, where Sir Keir Starmer wouldn't give guarantees over an amendment which would water down the legislation.
It had been due to be debated today, but it was pulled at the last minute, as our political correspondent Tom Sheldrick can explain.
Chloe Rutherford and Liam Curry were described as a teenage couple made for each other, with so much hope for their lives together. Those lives were brutally cut short in the Manchester Arena terror attack in 2017. A public inquiry found MI5 didn't give an accurate account of what they knew about the bomber. And now their families are fighting to ensure intelligence officers are not exempt from a new law aiming to make public officials cooperate and tell the truth to inquiries. After delaying to try to reach a compromise, the Prime Minister was asked about it earlier.
What we're now trying to do is just make sure we get the balance right when it comes to the application of any principle to the security and intelligence agencies. Obviously, I have to focus on the national interest, my primary duty as Prime Minister, which is to keep this country safe and secure. That is the duty I hold above all other duties, and I take it really seriously, which is why we're just taking time to make sure we get that balance absolutely right.
This has become known as the Hillsborough Law, after the police covered up the truth about the football stadium disaster in 1989. Campaigners from both tragedies came together last week to discuss the bill with the Prime Minister, but Chloe and Liam's mums told us afterwards it wasn't strong enough.
Disappointed, annoyed, infuriated.
Well,
it was just,
yeah, it just wasn't, well, it just, it isn't what they want, it isn't what we want to take forward.
But they are now positive about its progress through Parliament being put on hold. Today, Caroline Curry and Lisa Rutherford told us, "We are hugely relieved that the Hillsborough Law Bill has been delayed to allow time for the families and our legal teams to work with the government and make sure we get this law put in place in its entirety. We have to make sure that all services are accountable and our future generations protected. As families who've been through such trauma, the last thing we would ever want is to risk national security." We thank the Prime Minister for listening to us last week and keeping the dialogue going to ensure the bill is everything it was promised to be. It does still look like an uphill task, though, to reach an agreement that balances protecting national security with accountability and justice for victims like Chloe and Liam.
Well, let's join Tom at Westminster for more on this. Tom, there's lots to unpick in this story, isn't there? And it's been a rollercoaster few days for Chloe and Liam's families.
Yes, Amy, it has. You saw how frustrated they were there after meeting the Prime Minister last Wednesday. But now I think that they see this as him and the government really trying hard to meet their demands. I think it's fair to say that Downing Street see there's political danger in angering campaigners who face tragedy at Hillsborough and the Manchester Arena and who have several dozen Labour MPs in their corner and considering rebelling over this. On the other hand, though, there are the bosses of the security services who are concerned particularly about their agents being exposed by revelations during inquiries, and efforts to find a compromise have proved messy again for the government. Yesterday we were told that this would be worked out at a later stage in the parliamentary process, and then later on we were told that today's date was being postponed altogether. A minister is due to provide an update in the House of Commons later this evening. One of the big questions will be what happens next, because while this delay has been largely welcomed, a long delay won't be.
Tom at Westminster, thank you very much indeed.
Well, next tonight, the NHS Trust at the centre of a transgender changing room row has apologised to staff members for not providing a safe and inclusive environment.
On Friday, a tribunal ruled in favour of a group of 8 nurses from Darlington who brought a claim over a trans colleague using female changing spaces. Our reporter Amy Sutton joins us now in the studio with more. Amy.
Yes, well, the nurses involved in those tribunal hearings, which lasted more than 3 weeks, said on Friday the outcome was a victory for common sense and long overdue. Now, the tribunal ruled that the Trust had violated the dignity of the claimants, claiming a hostile, humiliating and degrading environment. A number of other claims, including those against the transgender member of staff themselves, were dismissed. It also rejected the claim that the Trust had victimised the claimants. Now, following that judgment, County Durham and Darlington NHS Foundation Trust said they needed some time to go through that report, which was over 100 pages, to issue a more detailed response. Today they've done that, and here's what they told us. We have a responsibility to provide a safe, respectful and inclusive working environment for everyone. And the tribunal's findings make it clear that we did not get this right for all of our colleagues, for which we apologise. We acknowledge that in our decision-making we did not adequately consider the concerns of a group of our colleagues. In light of the judgment, we will rapidly review our policies and the changes that have already been put in place, and will consider what facilities are required to follow the tribunal's findings in a way that is respectful to all of our colleagues. Well, the Trust also acknowledged it's been a difficult and distressing experience for all those involved, to which they regret and want to reaffirm their commitment to a respectful workplace for all.
And Amy, the Darlington nurses have gone on to support other health workers elsewhere in the country since their case concluded.
That's right. In only a matter of days, they've been back out in force. Some of those nurses down in London today were supporting another nurse in another case regarding trans issues in the NHS in the southeast of the country. They joined together at Westminster today, showing solidarity following their own experiences at Darlington Memorial Hospital. And the nurses' ruling is already having an effect. The Equality and Human Rights Commission has issued a warning to employers to look at their single-sex policies in the workplace. They've updated the code of practice and have shared that with the government for approval. So while the NHS Trust locally is working through their commitments to repair the relationship with their staff, we could see changes to employers elsewhere in the country.
Amy, thank you very much indeed for the update on that. Amy Sutton there with us in the studio. Next tonight, 4 teenagers and a man have appeared in court charged with murdering a man at a petrol station.
It comes after a 23-year-old man died in Seaham on Thursday afternoon, and we can join Chris Conway, who is there for us tonight. Chris, what more do we know?
Well, Amy, as you say, 4 teenagers and a man today appeared at Newton Aycliffe Magistrates Court, charged with the alleged murder that took place on this petrol station forecourt last Thursday afternoon. Now, police were called to the petrol station here on Stockton Road in Seaham following reports of a collision between a vehicle and a pedestrian. 23-year-old Daniel Ambler was found with serious injuries and died here at the scene. Now, today the garage remains closed and flowers and tributes to Mr. Ambler are visible on the forecourt. Now, following the incident, Durham Constabulary launched a murder investigation and said they had charged 5 men. The 5 men appeared before magistrates in Newton Aycliffe this morning. 51-year-old Barry Anderson, 19-year-old Ashton Anderson, both from Easington Colliery, and 18-year-old Barry Logan Anderson from Peterlee have all been charged with murder and violent disorder. 2 17-year-old men have also been charged with murder and violent disorder. Now, we can't name them for legal reasons. All 5 defendants were told during the hearing this morning that the case was too serious to be dealt with at Magistrates Court and they were remanded in custody. The 5 are due to appear before Teesside Crown Court on Wednesday.
Chris Conway and Seaham for us this evening with the latest there. Thank you very much.
You're watching ITV News Tyne. Still to come on tonight's programme.
Simon will be here to recap a sporting weekend with some big wins for some of our sides.
We'll meet the youngest ever Metro driver who is now on the track to retirement.
And we've got several low-pressure systems jostling around by the UK at the moment. It means some windy, sometimes wet weather on the way this week. I'll have more on that later in the programme.
Now we have reached the middle of January. Today is known by some, you might have heard this phrase being used, as Blue Monday, supposedly the most challenging of the year. But campaigners say that those types of descriptions actually trivialise how serious mental health problems can be.
Of course, they don't deny that January can be a difficult month, but they say problems, of course, can also be felt all year round, pointing out that support is available all year too. James Webster reports.
So in these boxes here, I want us to think about what happens to our body.
Sharing ideas on dealing with anxiety.
We're attempting to learn from each other here, so...
This support group for people who are disabled or neurodiverse was organised by Gemma, who wanted to share her own experience of coping with difficult feelings.
It's about looking at positive ways to manage stress and anxiety, but what I also wanted to do is help people recognise what positive traits and skills they've already got, because this is a lovely, unique group and we've got loads of skills and positive traits already.
The session's been timed for January, a month which some people consider even more challenging. 82% say they feel stressed about family life. For 65%, it's work pressures, and around the same amount worry about relationships. But mental health support groups like the Samaritans point out poor mental well-being is not confined to this time of year.
It's not helpful to suggest that there's one day in the year that's when people find things difficult and feel bad, partly because actually that might make people think, oh, if everybody's feeling like it, then maybe my feelings aren't valid enough. But of course it's because also we know that people struggle with emotional crisis and difficult feelings every single day of the year.
Identifying potential symptoms and seeking professional help is an important step, according to this psychologist from Whitley Bay.
There's lots of different self-care activities that you can prioritise if you're feeling like you may have the January blues. So things like making sure that you get daily sunlight, ideally in the morning, that you build in gradual movement through the day, that you seek some social connection, ideally face-to-face, and start prioritising some gentle kind of routines through the day.
Back at our support session, they've moved on to practical things that could help when things get too much.
We're making stress balls with a balloon and some of these jigsaw bits here.
I find it relaxing and I enjoy doing it. It's something different.
I just want me in the middle, being happy, to be free, to live life happily.
Having autism, well, I'm quite in my own thoughts, but it's always a good thing to learn a bit about how other people see things.
When you've got some form of neurodivergence or even disability, it can be quite isolating. There's always a lot of reasons why you can't do something. This group is about how can we make it possible for you to be included.
Campaigners hope this month is an opportunity to remind people to think about their mental health and what changes they could make to cope better with how they're feeling. James Webster, ITV News.
The ITV Evening News continues at 6:30 with Mary.
Coming up on the programme, Sir Keir Starmer says a trade war is in no one's interests as Donald Trump prepares to hit Britain and European allies with fresh tariffs over Greenland. We're in Spain after dozens of people were killed when two high-speed trains crashed. 3 days of national mourning are declared for the country's deadliest rail disaster in more than a decade. And Prince Harry is back in London as his privacy trial against the publisher of the Daily Mail and the Mail on Sunday gets underway. Well, do join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
Powering local sport in the community, Octopus Energy sponsors ITV Regional Sports Report.
And Simon has joined us in the studio. Simon, it was a pretty good weekend, really, for North East football, all things considered.
Well, we've certainly had worse weekends, haven't we? Middlesbrough won it, threw it away, then won it again at West Brom on Friday night. Sunderland produced a couple of memorable moments against Palace on Saturday, but there was nothing memorable about Newcastle's trip to Wolves on Sunday. This was a victory for vibes in Sunderland. A look at the league table tells you the Black Cats are way ahead of schedule. They've weathered the AFCON storm, which saw a load of their players away for a month at the African Cup of Nations, and most things in the garden are rosy. But the Black Cats had only won once in their last 8 league games, so victory over Crystal Palace was well timed. Sunderland got the job done thanks to 2 very good goals from Enzo Lefay and Brian Brobby. The Dutchman's reward for the winner was a painful attack of cramp, which his teammates found highly amusing. To be clear, Sunderland were not in any sort of bother, they just hit a sticky patch, so this was a good one to win.
Much needed 3 points and a good 3 points.
Definitely needed it. Top 6 here we come, telling you.
I think we've had a lot of draws, but we needed a win and we got one.
We had a couple of draws, which is not bad with the players we had missing, so great, tough with it. I think we just needed it just to lift everybody.
Winning in the Premier League is not easy, so I think we have to remind ourselves how tough it is to win a game in this league.
Maybe that win was for absent friends. Andy Edmonds, the long-serving steward of the Sunderland press room at the Stadium of Light and Rourke Park before that, passed away last weekend. Andy was 85. He was a lovely fellow, and he'll be sadly missed. Newcastle United's game at Wolves was not good. It was a pretty boring affair. Chances were at a premium, neither side carried much threat, and it took the Magpies 85 minutes to register a shot on target. So it was a bad game. It's not actually that bad a result, though. Wolves may be bottom of the table, but they're in their best form of the season at the moment, and not the pushover their position suggests. But, yeah, it was a bad game.
Yeah, we never looked like losing it, but we didn't do enough to win it, I don't think. We're disappointed with our product today. Our ability to create chances wasn't at the highest level.
The point keeps Newcastle ahead of Sunderland on goal difference. The Magpies are 8th, the Black Cats are 9th. Middlesbrough did some very good things at West Bromwich Albion. They also did some quite bad things. In the final analysis, the good outweighed the bad. Borough looked to be cruising at 2-0 up with 15 minutes to play, but their lead was wiped out in the space of 5 minutes, and what looked like a comfortable evening became rather uncomfortable all of a sudden. But Delano Bergzorg came off the bench to score a dramatic 90th minute winner, and even if Borough didn't take the path of least resistance, they did end up in the right place.
Just madness, honestly. It's just credit to the boys and the way we dealt with it and the way we played. I think, yeah, there was a rough patch, but we stuck together, and then it just shows our character that we can come back and get the winner.
Middlesbrough are still 2nd in the Championship, but keep an eye on Ipswich, who have games in hand. Harrogate had another horrible day in what's become a horrible season in League Two. Jack Evans was sent off at Shrewsbury for delaying the game, which seemed harsh. The home side won 1-0, and to add insult to injury, Harrogate manager Simon Weaver was given a red card after the final whistle. In the National League, York City stayed top, but they needed a late goal from Ollie Pearce to salvage a 1-1 draw at home to Southend. Hartlepool United's new owner Landon Smith saw his team play for the first time on Saturday, and they welcomed him with a win. Alex Reed's penalty saw off Altrincham. Gateshead's performances have got a bit better since Rob Elliott returned as head coach, but results haven't. They lost 2-0 at home to Rochdale. Gateshead have lost 10 in a row, and they're rock bottom of the table.
Whistle stop tour of the weekend football. Back to the big three, Simon. Well done to Sunderland and to Middlesbrough. We've spoken before about Newcastle United's relentless run of fixtures at the moment. Is it catching up with them?
I think so. They should have won that game yesterday, but they look tired to me. They've already played 5 games in January. They've still got 4 to go. 7 players on the injury list that Eddie Howe can't rotate as much as he wants. Champions League's back this week. It's a relentless schedule. This is one of the byproducts of being a successful team, so no one's complaining about it as such, but it's a tough slog for them at the moment. It was the end of the road for all 3 of our teams in the Women's FA Cup over the weekend. The big gap in quality between Super League 1 and Super League 2 was plain for all to see, as West Ham United, who are struggling in the top flight, comfortably beat a Newcastle United team who were pushing for promotion in WSL 2. 3-0 the final score there. Sunderland ran their top flight opponent closer, but it was the same outcome. London City Lionesses won with the only goal of the game at Eppleton Colliery. Middlesbrough also bowed out, losing 3-1 at Oxford United. Away from football, there were a few defeats, but one very notable victory. The Newcastle Red Bulls' 100% record in Rugby Union's European Challenge Cup has been consigned to the history books. They lost to the Welsh side Dragons by 35 points to 12, but Newcastle are already assured of progress to the knockout stages. The Newcastle Eagles men dropped 2 heartbreakers in the Basketball Super League. They had a shot to win the game against Bristol on Friday night, but they missed and lost. They also lost a close game in Manchester yesterday. The Eagles women were also beaten in their league game at Sheffield. But Newcastle Thunder won their opening game in the Rugby League Championship. They beat Midland Hurricanes. It was notable because that was the Thunder's first victory since September 2023. It's been a long time coming.
Simon, thank you very much indeed. Now, the Tyne Metro is saying farewell to one of its longest-serving employees.
Yes, Phil Taylor from Newcastle has racked up 46 years of service doing a variety of different jobs on the system.
He was there right at the beginning, and he's seen many changes over the years. Johnny Blair has been to meet him.
From retirement, Phil Taylor takes a ride down Metro memory lane. When he started in 1980, Margaret Thatcher was Prime Minister, ABBA were at #1, and The Empire Strikes Back was booming at the box office. Did you ever think when you started in 1980 that 46 years later you'd still been here?
No, I didn't. It was, I was the first part of my family that worked on the railway. There's nobody railway before that. Never thought I would still be here till the day I retire. Proud. I'm even back then in the 80s, I was proud.
He started when the Metro did in the summer of 1980 and has seen all the big changes since, including the completion of the original line in 1984, 2002's extension to Sunderland, and the introduction of the new fleet in 2024.
We operated just Haymarket to Tynemouth back then, 15 stations. Probably the trains is the biggest to see in moving from the old trains to the new ones. The signalling system is vastly changed from even from when I first started in the control room.
His CV for Metro includes a driver, training drivers, operations manager dealing with incidents on the system, and more recently working in the control room.
Very highly thought of, very, very kind man, knows his stuff inside and out. I don't think there's something that he doesn't know. You know, again, just going back to my experience with him when I first came into the control room, came into the organisation, he was a mentor to me. When times were tough, he's somebody who you can rely on. Really going to be, you know, a heartfelt miss to everybody here.
He's been recognised by the company several times for outstanding work, including in the early 2000s, helping to catch a vandal.
Stood up against the door, stopped them from opening it, flagged the police down, and when they came out from behind the door, the police were there, caught them red-handed. Yeah, got an Employee of the Month award for that, and a nice bottle of champagne.
Will you miss it?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. I think after working from leaving school all my life, but I've got some great memories and I've met some great people and I have some great friends.
Phil is looking forward to spending more time with his grandchildren and fixing up classic cars. And as he leaves, his record of being the youngest ever train driver on the system, aged 19, still stands today. Johnny Blair, ITV News.
What an incredible length of time, incredible service. Phil, happy retirement.
Yeah, great career. I'm thinking back to when I first came to the North East, and Phil would have been like mid-20s and probably has driven me to Polytechnic, driven me to town, driven me to work.
You've been
on the Metro, chances are he's driven you.
We've all seen Phil,
Well,
and
Phil.
I bet Phil will still enjoy a trip on the Metro as well. We've got to stay away.
Ross has joined us now. What have you got for us this evening, Ross?
Well, apparently it's Blue Monday.
Yeah.
Not really a thing. Not really a thing.
No, it's not, is it?
Not really.
Ploy,
They want to go and book holidays and things,
Essentially,
don't
it's
they?
for that.
So, yeah.
There's a bit of truth, as I said, at this point in January. We've got the shorter days. The weather's not particularly good.
No. It's quite bad, actually, today,
Yeah, it wasn't
the
Blue
weather.
Monday, it was Grey Monday,
Yeah,
let's be honest. It wasn't looking great out there. We had lots of mist and murk around. There were spells of rain too. Actually, for many places, not a hint of blue sky to be seen. None of our weather stations in this region recorded a single gleam of sunshine.
Is it still frozen or...?
There's a bit of, still a bit frozen at times, on this pond here. But yeah, there is some good news. I have been looking at the statistics here, and since the shortest day, nearly a month ago, we've added 40 minutes of daylight. Didn't really count today with all this mist and murk. And the daylight added increases more and more day on day. So by this time next week, we'll have added nearly 25 minutes more of daylight.
Good. That's quite a
So
lot.
it is creeping up.
Yeah.
So yeah, no real reason to be blue this Monday, apart from maybe the weather.
Yeah.
We are hoping for some blue skies as we head through the next couple of days. So with that in mind, let's take a look at the forecast.
A heavy downpour will subside and light relaxation will set in. TUI sponsors ITV Tyne weather.
Of course, for most of us, that cloud, mist and murk refuse to budge all day. The cloud's still rolling through at the moment, just bringing some patchy rain as we make our way overnight. But the better news, as that clears its way further north, the cloud a bit more willing to thin and break. Brighter spells, sunshine taking us through tomorrow, although things becoming more unsettled as we head through the rest of the week. The reason for that, large areas of calm, high pressure. There's one in the east, there's one down towards the south. They're refusing to go anywhere. These low pressure systems then are kind of trapped by the UK. They're jostling around. We've got showers, sometimes longer spells of rain, a squeeze on the isobars as well through Wednesday and Thursday, some blustery winds on the way too. And then towards the end of the week, we're going to see a drop in temperatures, so there's a lot going on over the next few days. For now, it is just patchy rain. It's going to be hit and miss, the odd heavier burst as we head into those early hours. Most of that has cleared its way further north, and it does clear through, and it takes the mist and murk with it. So actually into the early hours, we are going to see some clearer skies developing as temperatures drop down to around 4 or 5 degrees. So into tomorrow morning, not as murky as we saw today, still plenty of cloud around first thing, but again it is starting to clear, it's thinning, it's breaking, brighter skies, some sunny spells developing as we head into the afternoon. Breezes from that southerly direction, temperatures holding up then at around 8 or 9 degrees, good couple of degrees above the average for the time of year. Later Tuesday and into Wednesday, so low pressure systems are just queuing up in the west. Here's one here, it's bringing some patchy rain overnight into Wednesday morning. Again, that's going to clear away, leaving us with some brighter skies, but another area of rain starts to move its way up from the south through the middle part of the day. So messy picture as we head through the next few days with a chill in the air by the time we get to Friday.
TUI sponsors ITV Tyne weather.
Thank you, Ross. That's your news, sports and weather. Next up, it's the national and international news.
And I'll be back with the later news later on, 10:30 tonight. Hope to see you then. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.